Hello everyone, this is Miss Daniels coming to you again with another video. This is part 2 of our ELA lesson, and I want to talk about themes. So make sure you follow along as I read. And this is my 5th time recording this video, so bear with me, and hoping that everything runs smoothly and being able to save the video and upload it to YouTube for your viewing. So let's jump right in. All right, so finding the theme of a story or drama. Make sure you follow along as I read. Understanding characters in stories and dramas, including how they respond to challenges, helps you understand the themes of such texts. In a fictional text, a theme is a lesson about life that an author wants readers to understand. For example, a fictional text might present the lesson that loyalty to friends is important. Or it might develop the idea that living a full life sometimes means taking risks. Themes are always developed by a text's detail. One way to determine a theme is to look at how characters respond to challenges. A challenge is a problem a character must face. Now, keep in mind that challenges are not always problems. So I want to clarify that a little bit. And challenges are things that are just kind of a little bit harder. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem, but it just takes a little more work to overcome it, okay? In this cartoon below, we have a young girl and a lady, and I want you to take a minute and just think about what is a challenge that the girl faces in this little picture here, this cartoon. All right, so in the first scene here, we have a little girl. She's staring at a soccer tryouts sign. And there's a lady standing behind her, kind of staring at the same sign as well. The girl later on that day, or the lady later on that day asked the girl, did she make the team? And the little girl is like, no, but with more practice, I know I'll make it next year. So now, how does the girl respond to her challenge? Or what is her challenge? First of all, her challenge is, well, she goes to soccer tryouts and she, ends up not making the team, right? And so then how does she respond to that? And what does that tell you about the theme? So let's look at our next slide. So when we think about how we break this down and using the details from that picture and what we observed happening and how the girl responds, we can break that down in a graphic organizer to help us really come to terms with what the theme is. Now my slide is a little backwards here, so it's going to give us everything kind of backwards, but that's okay. The character in this particular scene is a young girl and a woman. And we can make an inference that they're outside and perhaps at a soccer field because we see the soccer sign, the soccer tryout sign. They're outside. She's dressed in her soccer gear and she's carrying a soccer ball. So we can kind of put those details together and make an inference that perhaps they're outside, even more so, maybe they're at a soccer field, right? Again, drawing from our previous lesson of how we can make inferences about the setting, okay? And what was the character's experience? Well, there was a young girl. She tries out for the soccer team. She wasn't quite good enough to make the team, or they just didn't choose her. She tells the woman that she is going to practice and try again next year. She is confident she will make the team the next time she tries out. So what are some things that we can really draw from that? Have you ever been in a situation where you were faced with something or a challenge and you had to overcome it? So we can relate this experience to our own prior knowledge of what it must be like to experience this type of challenge in life. And we can come to terms with some things. The main thing that we can learn from this is to never give up. Does she come back to the lady and say, oh, I'm just terrible at everything and I will never be a soccer player ever again in my life? No, she says, I'm going to try again next year. We also can learn that with practice, you can get better, right? You didn't start out as a basketball NBA star. You have to work to get there. You have to practice. So practice to get better at things, okay? We can learn that. Or we can learn believe in yourself. The girl had confidence that with practice, she's going to make it next year. She didn't say, I give up on soccer. I'm never going to be a soccer player. No, she believed in herself, and she had that confidence in knowing that if I practice, I can make it next year. And finally, things don't always go as planned. Sometimes I'm pretty sure you have been in a situation where you felt like maybe you would make the team, or that you, made a good grade or something like that, and then things didn't really go as planned. So we learn from those experiences, and we learn from this character's experiences as to how we can possibly deal with things that happen in our own life. And so that teaches us a lesson. That is the theme of a story or of a cartoon or a movie. If you've ever watched Lion King is notorious for having so many life lessons about the circle of life, right? And how we're all connected in this thing called nature, and how we create harmony. And if someone comes trying to take control over everything and all about themselves, they're going to perish, or they're going to fall in a whole bunch of fire, like Scar did. I don't know, but at any rate, we learn lessons about life through the eyes of the author, in which they have a theme in their stories or in their movies or in their comic strips or whatever it is, that genre that you may read. So let's move on. Let's talk about what a drama is. A drama is a story that can be acted out in front of people or an audience. And it's basically a story that's put on stage, right? Or put in front of an audience. So there are certain elements that make it a drama versus just any old story. And just like a story that we read in literature books has chapters, or sometimes they have it's divided up by dates or something like that. Well, in a drama, you have acts and scenes, and these are parts of the play that are divided up so that we know what's happening when things transition through the story. They also have characters. Every story has characters, and they play roles in the drama or in a story. In a drama, just like they do in a story. You also have a narrator. The narrator gives the audience information about what's happening in the play. We can say that this is kind of the voice from above that nobody actually sees. They don't have an actual role, but it's just giving us information. Every story has a setting. It has to have somewhere where it took place and a time in which it took place. So that's a key element in a drama. There's also dialogue. Dialogue is just basically a conversation, the actual characters speaking. So you have that element there. And then there's stage direction. Stage direction tells us where the actors are going and how they're moving and what's going on around them. If somebody passed somebody something, or if the person changes the look on their face, those are all stage directions. And we know that those are stage directions a lot of times, because when we're reading dramas, those are the parts of all those words are italicized. And we talked about that in class, that italicized, you can tell this italicized because it's kind of the words are kind of leaning to the side a little bit. All right. And then there's a very important part of a script. The script is the part we kind of read that tells us what to say, or what the actors are saying, or the characters are saying in a drama. Okay. So that's a very important part. Now, when we're looking at dramas or any story, we have to ask ourselves questions in order to understand more about the theme. I always say that our motto in class is ask yourself questions in order to answer a question. So you have to think about some things in your mind and ask yourself questions about what you read, so that you can start piecing those things together and understand more about what the theme is, or what the author is trying to teach us by reading this, or or reading a drama, or being a part of a drama. And those questions are like, what message did you take away from reading the text, and why? Which passage from the text would you consider most significant or important, and why? That and why part is pretty important, because that and why is when we start making connections there, right? Why do you think that way? So you start really explaining more. How do the changes the main character undergoes help you determine the message? How do the title, chapter titles, and or cover illustrations help you determine the theme. We can't leave out the pictures. If there's a picture there or image that's kind of playing out in your mind, you have to incorporate that, because they too, just like the one we looked at about the little girl and her soccer tryouts, they help us understand more, and we can use that to help create imagery in our minds and make connections to what we're reading versus what we see. We also should think about several texts that you've enjoyed. Do they share some similar themes or different themes? So making a comparison there, using our prior knowledge or prior experience, and really making those connections so that we can understand more about the theme in the story. So here is a drama that we're going to read. I'm going to read it. I would suggest if you read dramas, you always read it with a partner, because it's kind of fun to, you know, play different roles and things like that, as opposed to just reading it as a regular passage, because this is, again, a script. So you should want to read it with someone so that you can kind of hand out the roles. So I would suggest reading it with someone as opposed to by yourself. But if you can't, you can do like me and kind of read both and maybe change your voice a little bit to show that you're two different people, right? So in this case, we have the name of the drama or story here is The Presentation. We have two characters, one by the name of Liam and the other one by the name of Dylan. So again, as you can see here, in scene one, there's some stage direction, and you can tell that it's stage direction read by a narrator because it's italicized. So I'm going to be playing the narrator, Liam, and Dylan in this, okay? So read along with me or read this also with a partner, okay? All right, scene one. Liam and Dylan are outside a building. Liam: I've been waiting for a long time in this hot weather. How could you be late? Why are you out of breath and sweating so much? It would make a bad impression on the judges. I'm sorry. I tried calling you, but I don't want to hear your excuses. Let's go in. We're already late. I hope you brought my flash drive for the presentation. Both walk inside the building. Scene two. Liam and Dylan are in a room full of people. Dylan connects the flash drive to the laptop and starts the presentation. Liam notices that there were some changes in the presentation. Everyone claps loudly when the presentation is over. Liam's in a better mood. Why didn't you use the flash drive I gave you yesterday? Actually, after going home last night, I wanted to give the presentation some final touches. However, when I opened the file, I saw that it was blank. I tried calling you, but you didn't answer the phone. Liam, puzzled. Why was the file blank? Oh no! Sherry, or our dog, came running with the stick in her mouth when I was saving the file. She dropped the stick at my feet and bounded toward the back door. Maybe I forgot to save the file correctly before going out into the backyard. Well, since I couldn't speak to you, I made another presentation based on the points we discussed earlier. That's why I was late this morning. Oh man, I'm sorry for being irresponsible, Dylan. I'm glad you made a new presentation so quickly. And scene. Thank you very much. And I'm taking my bow on encore. All right, so now what I want you guys to do now is take a minute, and if you need to pause the video and write this graphic organizer down. If you've all, I know there's a question that pairs along with this particular passage. However, if you've already answered that question, great, we'll go over it again as a class, and making sure we go through and break the question down and do our process elimination and use kind of like our test taking strategies to help answer that question. But I want you to go back to this passage and I want you to really break it down so that we understand how we go about breaking down the passage and understanding how the characters responded to certain situations helps us understand more about the theme. So take a minute to write this down. If you need to stop the video for a second so that you can really have time to write it out before you move on, that's totally fine, okay? But what I want you to do is think about who the characters were. I want you to write down and think about what the setting was. And then I want you to think about what the characters experienced. And not just one character, but all the characters, okay? What was the experience of the characters in this particular drama passage here that we just read, okay? And as we talk about that, I want you to write down the details. I want to know the details of what happened in this particular story and how the each character kind of responded to the situation that they were in with this presentation. And then I want you to go and think about how they responded and what that teaches us about handling situations like this, okay? So take a minute, write down this graphic organizer, use the text to go back and get those details to help you to explain what their experiences was, so that then you can kind of come to terms with what the theme was. And we'll talk about this more in class tomorrow. Make sure you leave any comments in, any questions in the comments section. You can also hit me on Remind. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.